What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the DUM Show. Pre-show, no rants of Izzo today. Izzo is getting a sex change. Do me a favor, please share, and most importantly, like this. As the more you like it, the more it gets out. Please do that favor for me. This is an impromptu show, so I would appreciate it if you could share your butts off. See you guys, and Ashley, thank you for liking the stream. Chevelle, good morning. Actually, afternoon. Sorry. Amy, welcome. And we've got about 14 seconds. Let's get it out there, and I will see y'all on the backside of 3 minutes. Javier, welcome to the show. Got a lot to cover this morning. See you shortly. What's going on, everybody? The DUM Club is officially open at thedumclub.com, where you can actually join bronze, gold, and silver levels. Has all sorts of different things. We have a quarterly gift box. You have a discount free membership to DUM Club, the overall shopping experience, where it gives you very much like a United States Amazon type experience. Get free autographs, videos, behind the scenes content. Head on over to thedumclub.com and take a look. There's a package for everybody.
Yeah. Harsh Winds here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The DUM Show and his website. Yeah. Don'tUnfriendMe.com. Yeah.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.
What's going on, Don't Unfriend Me Nation? Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. Violet was just on Facebook, and she's like, hey, I was wondering what you thought about Tim Pool's podcast this morning. I'm like, I didn't watch it. I rarely watch Tim Pool. He's all over the place, and he has these 1 minute, 2 minute type videos, and then he's got his 20-minute thing. Yeah. Wolves last night. Don't want to get too excited, though. Our Minnesota teams like to hype us up and let us down. Yeah, you guys got to get past the Mavericks. Nuggets laid an egg. You're up 20 points in the third. It just makes no sense. It is what it is. Basketball is really hard to win 2 years in a row. Dynasties don't happen anymore in basketball. So we'll see what happens. Mavericks have a really good team. Minnesota's got a great team. They dominated that game, and they really, when all you got is Murray and Jokic, What do you want? I mean, they didn't even pass the ball. It was just the Murray and Jokic show, and Minnesota barely stopped them. But you can't go on a 32-9 run and expect to win that game. So it's over. Avalanche are out. Nuggets are out. Go Stros. Stros are on an upward trend. I think they're 9-1 in their last 10. They've moved up in the power rankings. They're only like 4 or 5 games out of first. Go Stros. So everything we wanted from their pitching. They've allowed 0.95 ERA from the bullpen. I think Hader has allowed no runs in the last 4 starts. Verlander just got unlucky with a slider that was hanging ball and got knocked out of the park. Tucker changed his shoes, and now he's wearing orange, and he's doing fine. Folks, sports are my thing. Anyway, welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Welcome to the show. We don't have enough people on simply because nobody knows that we were coming on right now. I mean, this is way late for us. So I didn't anticipate a ton. I just wanted to kind of get something in the kitty and throw it up on Spreely, and then also throw it up and put it on the podcast and then on Facebook, because I didn't feel like making a video today. Facebook is, take a look, 190,835. When have you ever seen it go down? So we're actually at 191,243, but Facebook is not adding new likes to my count. They're just taking ones that unsubscribe. So I've got like 600 some odd people that are just sitting there, and it's ridiculous. So I decided to put an ad on. So I'm paying $7.50 a day to see if I can get my likes to move, and it's not working. Like nothing's working. So they're shadow banning and throttling. I anticipated this for the election, and it's interesting because we don't give out disinformation. We have done none of that. We never get fact checked. Videos never get fact checked. We used to get COVID labels because we would just say the word and then they would throw a label on it. But whatever, I guess because you're a conservative, you're immediately a Trump, supporter, have to be a loyalist, J6er, Aryan Nation, white Christian nationalist, Bible thumper, Rust Belt liver type person. I don't know, but it is what it is. We got a lot to cover. Iran, you might have heard a little crash in Iran, a helicopter. Yeah. So there's a lot of conspiracy theory going on, and I'm just going to put a lot of it to rest. I did an article on it for you. If you haven't seen it, go over to thedumnews.com. It's right there, black and white. You can read it. You can get my opinion. I think, we'll talk about it. Then I've got Joe Biden doing a commencement address at a black college. Go figure, of course. I mean, the only thing that would be better than that is a lesbian, black, dual citizenship, dual theological belief in Muslim religion, and Jew, quadriplegic, double amputee, transgender college. That would have been the only thing that would have been better than that. So he goes and panders to black people like all Democrats do. So we're going to go and talk about that. Yeah, Dawn, you got to engage with the page. If you want to see the Don't Unfriend Me show, you got to engage with the page. I put up a post today, and if you didn't see it, this is a perfect example. If you don't engage with the page, it will not engage with you. I put this post up and it says, it's election season, so there's no way Facebook would shadow ban my page. I also would never ask you to like this post and comment yes to make sure you see my page through 2024. That's really what it comes down to. Even if you don't like the post, hit like on it, because that is going to give you access to the page. You can also go into your follow settings up in the little icon, the little gear icon, and make any changes you want there. But listen, it's going to be hard. If you want to see the Don't Unfriend Me show, you're going to have to work for it. It's not going to be easy. Now, here's the cool thing. You can go to tv.spreely any day you want, and you can get the show right there. Or you can just go to thedumshow.com, and I put the show up there live. I stream it live there. If you want to see the show, you can see it. It's really up to you. So that's it. So what else do we got? We've got Cohen, who got out of the witness stand today and was absolutely just shellacked by the defense, openly admitted that he stole from Donald Trump's organization. I mean, this guy is just a piece of work. And like Michael Avenatti, he's just going to throw himself in more trouble. This is what happens to liars. And even the left can't really continue to tolerate this guy. And then what else do we want to talk about? Hold on. Let's see. I put it in notes. I forgot. And Butler versus Kapernick. I know it says Butler, but spell check got a hold of it. I want to talk about this because people are like, well, look at Butler. He can do this for the Kansas City Chiefs and talk about Catholicism. But Colin Kaepernick talks about racial injustice, even though there's no such thing as unarmed black shootings. They are a rarity. You have a better chance of getting struck by lightning while surfing a sperm whale than you do getting shot by a cop if you're black and unarmed, but whatever. Let's go ahead and talk about these things, and we'll go from there. First things first, I want to talk about Iran. And I think it's important because immediately, I don't understand how people, I hear the fog of war, right? I mean, that's something that I deal with all the time. And I hear a lot of rumors. I hear a ton of rumors, but I never go out and start saying, oh, well, this is what happened. And this is guaranteed. I know what happened. So immediately the first thing, Jews, it's Jews. The Jews did it. Don't mess with Israel. This is what you get. You mess with Israel and your chopper gets shot down. First of all, I just want to be clear. If a chopper was shot down, it leaves a very distinct signature and profile. Is you would have a surface-to-air missile, because you're not going to go ahead and do an air-to-air missile for a chopper. I'm just letting you know, especially a civilian chopper. There's no reason for it. First of all, you're going to fire off IFF. You're going to get picked up on satellites. You're going to get picked up on opposing radar. Even Israel with F-35s are going to get picked up. The fact that you would never use an air-to-air from that distance. And although you could, from Israel, 500 miles away, hit a chopper, there's no reason. It's just stupid. So you would have to consider a couple of things, okay? One would be sabotage, which is very possible because we know there's Mossad in Iran, and they're all over the place. They're everywhere. They have sleepers all over Iran. And Iran's morality police and their intelligence agencies and IRGC intelligence officers work tirelessly and effortlessly, stepping on the citizens' necks of Iran in an effort to weed out Jews. That's a fact. So we know that. The next thing is you got to go ahead and consider, okay, so if it's sabotage, that's one thing. Number two, could it be a shoulder-to-shoulder missile? Sure. It's possible. Does the wreckage support that? No. It very much looks like a helo going into a side of a mountain. And if you followed any of these crashes in the Zagros Mountains, they happen all the time. I went ahead and covered that in the article back in 95 till 2001. I can't even tell you how many crashes we saw from civilian aircraft, passenger aircraft, helos, and military aircraft over Zagros Mountains, but also all in the Gulf. See, Iranian civilian aircraft predominantly fly over and will use modern day technology, Doppler radar and everything else to fly. And they do a fairly decent job. And the reason why is a lot of these airlines that go in there are not generated from Iran. They're from other countries. And whether it be Russia or whether it be China or whether it be any other Middle Eastern country that do allow flights into Iran, but they're not considerably well known for harvesting the best pilots in the world. Simple fact. In fact, from a military standpoint, the one thing about Iran that makes them extremely vulnerable is their Air Force. Most of them don't fly at night, and most of them don't fly over water. And hardly any of them fly in inclement weather, except for choppers. Now, most choppers can fly at inclement weather for a few reasons. One is because they're not as susceptible to cross draft or large amounts of gusts destabilizing or putting that thing in an altitude drop, because the way that it uses its thrust is much different than the way that a plane would use. It uses downward thrust coming down on the ground, and then obviously propelling it vertical. And crosswinds have a different impact. It doesn't mean helicopters aren't bounced around. It doesn't mean helicopters aren't completely dependent on stabilized air. It's not that. It's absolutely volatile. It's just helicopters have a higher tolerance to that type of thing than a plane. And it's simply overall size and profile of the vehicle, weight of the vehicle, downward thrust. All of these things play into its aerodynamics, which make them a little bit more sturdy during inclement weather. But not in a piece of technology like the Huey Bell. I think it was a B1, or I think it was a B1. I've got some pictures of it. This thing's from this is in Vietnam. Most of these were produced by the Huey Bell Corporation for Vietnam. And then when Vietnam ended and you saw remnants of these be transferred back to the United States and sold as civilian aircraft, and then painted and labeled by that company. And this is what you saw for pretty much every major police department, every major news station. Everyone was flying B-1 and Hueys. It was standard. But these things are Vietnam era helos. They're although every single part was readily available over the last 50 years, and it was the AK-47 of helos. It just was an amazing aircraft. They hardly ever went down. Most of it was pilot error or poor choice of navigation. They would obviously have mechanical failures, but surprisingly enough, the Huey was very good at losing something, whether it be aeronautics or hydraulics or engine failure, and then being able to somehow recover mid-flight in order to successfully survive an impact with the ground. Certainly not like the Cobra or other smaller rotary aircraft, which would have just devastating. The Osprey is one of them, which, obviously has the wings that move up, and it's a propeller-based vertical landing aircraft. That thing is like a soda can. It hits the ground. It's like a Honda Civic hitting a wall. It just blows up into a million pieces. The Huey was like the 57 Chevy. It is a bulky. This thing could take, AK-47 rounds up its keister and still continue to fly. Multiple system failures and still continue to fly. This is what they flew into Vietnam and brought in the Air Cav with these Hueys. They were incredible. So, but that doesn't mean that it's still the greatest technology since sliced bread. And if you're going to have the Iranians, who are not extremely strong at navigating during inclement weather, in a dense fog, and have to go literally on instrument panel navigation, that is only for the most skilled pilots in the world. And those are people who are usually flying at altitudes of 15,000, 16,000 feet, which helos aren't. See, helos have depreciative value the higher altitude they go because of the thinness of the air. And a lot of them have a hard time getting enough air into the engine, but also for stability reasons, it's so thin, there's not enough resistance for that helo to fly at high altitudes. That's why flying in mountains is such an extremely difficult thing. This is why you have crashes like Kobe Bryant, and you've had the 2018 medevac helo crash in the Zagros Mountains, and hundreds of other aircraft over decades. So when people are like, "Oh, it's the Jews," well, just because there's a conflict going on, it doesn't mean that the Jews are involved. Okay. There are things that take place during an aircraft, specifically a helo, a crash. Usually there's time. It's not like all of a sudden prop stops and then you're a rock and you go down. There is some sort of glide pattern that is nominal. There's also a situation, which I don't remember the name, but it's where you have blade reversal where the thrust is coming up, but it still offers some sort of lift. It's like a manual rotary rotation, something to that effect. And so you would think that once you have the spin stop and the blade stop going, then all of a sudden it's just going to go down like a rock. But that inertia going down will spin the blades, and you get at least some lift from that process. And you can see people go in with a controlled crash. When we had Ryan Weaver on, I wish Ryan was here because he could tell us a lot about this. But the whole thing I'm trying to tell you is the first reaction is it was shot down. And I'm letting you know that would be extremely difficult for that to take place based upon the photographs and the wreckage that we saw. You also had survivors in the aircraft, allegedly. At this point, there were people who were talking to Tehran through radio contact and through the chopper's communique and communicating their location and where they were. It was extremely hard to find them because of the fog. So once again, first reaction is it's Jews, it's US, it's the CIA, and that's all great because those people want clicks and they want money and they're going to tell you all these things. I'm just going to tell you the truth. 9 times out of 10, when it comes to a chopper accident in foggy conditions, it's because somebody ran into the side of a mountain. You have Israel who has denied this. The United States has denied all involvement. All the usual suspects have denied involvement. Yes, there are people in Iran who are saying various things, that the people are firing off fireworks in the sky. Well, the morality police is out on the streets now, and that would be very stupid to set off fireworks for this. The president of Iran is not necessarily an impactful leader, so to speak. He was a hardline conservative. His values were not necessarily something that the United States would want, because he did increase Western dissension and separation from the U.S. He is good friends with the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, who has and holds the real power over the clerics and the military. You're going to see the IRGC probably have some power struggles over the next 50 days, because what you're going to see right now is that the leadership has 50 days in the Constitution of Iran, as good as that is, which really is only a layout of their government, has 50 days to decide where they go from here. So Vice President Mohammed Mokhbar has taken over as VP. His stances are very similar. He is not a progressive socialist reform type guy. He's not libertarian. I mean, you have to understand the politics in Iran are not the same politics as the United States, and their political allegiance, they don't necessarily align and mesh. What a hardline conservative over there is more of Sharia law, more of the Arabic and Muslim focuses on religion, totalitarianism, the belief in the higher power, and is reigned through the supreme leader. So very different than the United States. Religion is predominantly where they're at. So when we say hardline conservative, it's not conservative as in fiscal spending or abortion or gun rights. It's Sharia law and religious doctrine rule all. And then when you have more progressives, it's not, hey, I want to pay for everybody's college, or I want to go ahead and save the spotted owl. Progressive is, yes, religion is important, but we need to have a structure for the people, and we need to have a constitution and rights for the people. And it focuses less on the theological standpoints of their, although extremely important, would be more of for the people type movement. So two very different type things, where conservatives are predominantly more constitution, less government, less taxes, which is more on the progressive side in Iran. And then you have this totalitarian, no free speech, God is supreme, which is a mixture of, white nationalist beliefs versus leftist doctrine. So it's the ideologies are very mixed. So when you hear conservative, don't think, oh, this guy's a Republican. No, that's not what it is. But Mohammed Mokhbar is most assuredly a hardliner as well. He is not going to create some sort of revolution for the people. But what you're going to see over the next 50 days is you'll see the IRGC, the military, try to assert power. You'll see the more progressives. You will see the morality police try to quash any uprisings that take place, because there very well could be a coup over this. There's been a coup imminent in Iran for the last 15 years. This is one of the things that Barack Hussein Obama wanted to quash, and went in and gave them money and appeased them, and supposedly the Iran nuclear deal, which was going to slow down the development of nuclear weapons. A lot of these appeasements were to essentially limit the amount of sanctions on Iran to allow them to kind of certainly not join the world sphere of influence, but kind of go on their own accord with U.S. oversight. Those things are far from gone. And the people, Donald Trump put in iPhones into Iran and had propaganda dropped from planes to encourage a coup inside Iran, put massive amount of sanctions on Iran, which really crippled their economy and the overall influence of the clerics and the Shah. You're not seeing that happen now with Biden, as they have a very hands-off approach. So it's interesting, considering there's an election coming up. Is there enough power from this to hold until November? And if a Donald Trump wins Iran, that's the last thing that they want, because Donald Trump will most assuredly support a coup into Iran and a replacement of their government, which we did not see us support during Turkey with Erdogan and what happened with them with a failed coup. The United States kind of stood back and did not necessarily show a full-throated endorsement for the Turkish military and the dissidents to rise up and take over Turkey. You would see that with Iran. In fact, I think most people, even Biden secretly, would want the Shah and the Ayatollah and the clerics to be overthrown by the people. It would be good for Iran to get back to pre-1969, 1970, when all of this started happening with the terrorist movement and the religious zealots in Iran who really took from the people. If you would look at 1960s, 1950 Iran, it very much looked like Columbus, Ohio. White picket fences and people in dresses and walking their kids across the street. Very different than posthumous relationships with Jimmy Carter and failed administration negotiation and horrible English involvement in Iran, which ultimately, changed the face of that country. So, long and short of it is, this is going to have implications that are far-reaching in the overall future of Iran and how it's operating. So, although the president does have a lot of power, this emboldens the people to possibly rise up and have a coup. And I think it needs to happen. It's needed to happen for a long time. The question is, will it happen? So my first guess is, was Israel involved? It doesn't matter. See? So here's why. Because the people here in the United States who think the Jews are, the Rothschilds and inherent of all evil and run the world, and those people are going to think the Jews did it. Okay? Israel is going to say, no, we didn't. There's people here who are going to think the CIA did it. There's people who are going to absolutely assure themselves that Mossad did it. Some people might go ahead and blame the Russians, which is stupid, but so they can go ahead and trump the war in Ukraine. Some people are going to think the Ukrainians did it just because they don't want to give any more money to Ukraine. It doesn't matter. Iran will find a way to blame the Jews. They haven't really done that yet, at least up until this show. They will find a way to blame the Jews, and they will increase this. But Iran also doesn't want to piss off Israel anymore, because this is why they launched the attack into Israel and launched the 300 some odd drones and all of this, and gave plenty of warning, forewarned everyone in Israel that this was coming. And then Israel obviously put some drones up in the air to my likes. I'm so pissed. So you can see people are liking it and nothing's happening. Anyway, so you've seen this kind of stalemate chess game between Iran and Israel, where they kind of just wanted to clear the pieces off the board and start new and stay away from this. They had war with the proxies. Israel was prosecuting its war in Gaza, was influencing and keeping the IRGC and the Syrians out of West Bank. And you saw this kind of stay of execution, and Iran's like, okay, we're going to hands off, and we're going to stop running proxies. Hezbollah is not going to be involved in the north as much. We're just going to kind of let you do what you want to the Houthis, or it's not the Houthis, but to Hamas, and we'll try to control the batshit crazy Yemenis Houthis down south, because they don't really listen to us and they do whatever we want anyway. So you've got a situation that this could escalate tensions between Israel and Iran, and I don't think Iran wants that. Iran wants to just basically stay status quo at this point, continue its proxy, and not get involved in conflict with Israel and the United States. So to say, did Israel take out this chopper? listen, Mossad has the ability to kill the Ayatollah. They can take out all the shahs and clerics. They can take out every single general all in one evening. I mean, it would be Walter White in Breaking Bad, where he had to execute like 11 witnesses all within 2 minutes of each other. That is what Mossad can do. They have the capability. A lot of the drones that came into Iran were just warnings of, we're hovering over some of your most sensitive areas with some of your most sensitive people. Now you can shoot them down. Just know we know where everyone's at, and we will kill every one of you if you continue this. That's what they were saying. It was a position move. This does not look like a political assassination. It doesn't feel like a political assassination to me. Usually you would see a drone, you'd see a car bomb, you would see, honestly, a slit throat. That's what Mossad does. You can take a look at Zurich. You can take a look at previous political hits from Iranian nuclear physicists. Most of these hits are up close. They're personal. They're not as inconsistent as hitting someone. You would have to sabotage this helo, know when it was going to go, know what its flight logs are, ensure that it wasn't being used for any other flight. You would have to get past security. It's just too much. There's easier ways to assassinate a political leader, and most of those are done with drone strikes. Most of those are done while a vehicle is moving on a ground, which is a very easy target to hit with an IED, an improvised device, or hitting it with a laser targeted device where you don't even need to be seen. So my point is, this is for the movies where you cut the hydraulics on a Huey, or you have some sort of you have some sort of bomb and you flip the switch. Nothing indicates that. This looks like a mid-altitude, fairly high-speed impact with the side of a mountain, and that's that. So that's all. Wasn't it Obama that sent the Ayatollah plane loads of money? Correct. Yeah. So once again, Obama and Biden both did that, and the pallet's full of cash. And they've had a very hands-off approach with Iran. Here's what it comes down to. It is a boiling point. Iran is in need of a revolution from the Iranian people, and to overthrow the government. It's a long time coming. It needs to take place, very much like you would see in Venezuela, very much like you saw in Turkey. It's not uncommon, and it's needed, and it's been needed for a long time. And those people need to fight for their freedom. But President Razi gone is not a big deal. I don't anticipate that this is going to have a huge impact in the structure of the government, but this could have a very large structure on the people of Iran as they decide what they're going to do. I'm interested to see what the IRGC is going to do, whether the military is going to try to take over, and you may see that. But my prediction is that it very well could trigger an uprising. So will it? I don't know, but it could. And, that's what I will tell you right now. But those people who are coming on and saying it's political assassination, there's not, once again, this is very much like the Nord Stream pipeline 1 and 2. There's speculation. There were only a few countries that could do it. More than likely it was Ukrainians with the support of the United States, but no direct involvement from the U.S. There is also a possibility that Vladimir, put it through Pipeline 2 with a pig. I went ahead and talked about that show, and a lot of the explosion, the explosive remnants of the video footage and photo footage demonstrate that this was not an external explosion, but an internal explosion. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's speculation. The point is, ask the why. Why did it happen? It happened to stem fuel, natural gas, particularly to Europe. That's the why. And it does two things. It stops Europe from getting that during a winter, which puts a hardship on Europe and prices and impacts their economy, but it also impacts Russia from getting its money and providing a large amount of revenue to its country. So those are the whys. Who did it and what the motive was is really immaterial. It was in international waters. It is a declaration of war. It is something that if the United States has its hands tied to it, would have been a declaration of war against Russia, but also in international water. So it would have been a war on Germany, because that area that was hit is predominantly German ran and German side owned. So there's a lot of, you could sit here and speculate. You could sit here and say, oh yeah, I'm positive it was, my grandfather, who has balls and is now my grandmother. A lot of ifs there. But the truth is you really only get to the why. Why did it happen? Well, we know why. So why did this helicopter crash happen? It was very foggy. It's very cold in Iran this time of year. A lot of people go, oh, it's summer. It's beautiful. It's great. No, that's not the way it is in the Zagros. And if you've been there, you would know what type of weather is happening in the Middle East right now. It was very, very cold, very foggy, extremely dense fog. You had inferior aircraft in the Huey Bell, which is from 1960. So you're talking, 60 some odd years of service, which has probably had multiple engine replacements, multiple fuselage repairs, hydraulics, nav equipment, even glass repair. I mean, this thing has been probably refurbished 100 times over since its original factory line assembly. So you have to ask yourself the question, does it make sense in dense fog in a country which is not known for flying in inclement weather, which is not known for flying at night, which is not known to fly and navigate the Zagros Mountains, especially if you have instrumentation failure? There's a lot of things that can happen. Does it make sense that it was an assassination attempt versus just a natural crash that happens all the time with rotary aircraft? The answer to me is yes, until I hear something different. You have Israel who's saying no. You're having the U.S. is saying no. You have Iranians who are not screaming at the top of the roof that this was a hit from Israel. They may do that later for propaganda control because like the strikes that Israel had into Iran, nothing hit. Everything was fine. Israel missed everything. They're blind Jews. They couldn't hit a broadside of a boat. They couldn't hit a dreidel if they threw, baklava on it, even though baklava is Greek. It doesn't matter. The point is, they ultimately are not saying that the Jews did it yet. You'll probably see the Israeli defense minister come out and say, this was the Zionists who were attacking us, and you'll hear that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that anyone believes it. So at this point, I would consider what it is at face value. Now, World War III. Right. So Ashley says that's where I heard they're blaming the U.S. because the aircraft didn't get proper maintenance to sanctions. Okay, so right there, completely, it's absolving the Jews of any responsibility. They're blaming the Americans because of sanctions. That's what I would expect to hear. Propaganda coming out from the defense minister. It's probably where you heard it, or possibly hearing it from Iranian state-controlled news, which is the IRNA. Would ultimately come out and the news agency would say that, which is state-run media anyway. So that's what I expect. So I'm sure you're hearing that now. I'm sure that's what's come out. And there you go. Okay. So now that we've established that, let's go ahead and talk about World War III. We're not in World War III. I don't know why does everyone keep saying we're in World War III? World War III is two or more superpowers in a conflict. We don't have one superpower in a conflict. Israel's not a superpower. Iran is not a superpower. The United States is not in an open conflict when we're running proxies. Folks, we've been running proxies since Vietnam. It's the only way to run it. We haven't declared war since World War II. So honestly, we've been running proxies since World War II. This is the state of the way the United States does things, especially with Democrats in office, is you run proxy. This isn't World War III. Now, when you see Russia and China start firing off into England or start firing off into Israel or firing off into Japan or into Taiwan, which isn't a superpower, but still from an economic standpoint is, or you see them off the coast of Hawaii or Alaska, then you might want to consider, holy shit. But until then, everyone just needs to calm down. This has been going on since God was a corporal. So we're not Tim Pool, World War III. Blah, blah. And of course, Tim Pool skirts the line of talking about World War III, but never really just goes, folks, it's World War III right now. So he's not fear mongering, but he's flirting with ideas, and this is his MO. Listen, when you are a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. And Tim Pool's a hammer. And everything he sees is a nail. Just like you look at Fuentes. Fuentes believes that he's a screwdriver, and he sees all the Jews as a Phillips head screw. And that's the way he sees them. And everything he says will ultimately fall into that. You look at Piers Morgan. Everything he sees is Second Amendment issue. So, his mallet is anti-gun. So everything that he sees is about gun owners. I don't have those. And that's one of the reasons why my show doesn't have 2 million viewers, is because I don't provide you a hammer approach to the world. My comment is always, it depends. My comment always is there's multiple viewpoints on this. There isn't one right viewpoint, because geopolitics is geo, which is an overall area of political intrigue and political influence that has a multifaceted problems without a singular solution. There's no Band-Aid to fix it, because you're talking Iranians think they're right and Jews think they're right and Russians. Nobody goes, I'm wrong. We're wrong. We deserve to be annihilated. Just take us out. I will give you the best excuse I can for this. How many people I have on? Hopefully, not enough. But here's probably one of the best things I can tell you. Jared Bednar, one of my favorite coaches of all time for the Colorado Avalanche, he says it best. And I consider myself a lot like him. The way that he sees things is he doesn't just go out and go, the refs suck and Colorado should have won and we just had a bad game. He goes, listen, the other team gets a say too. And it's a fantastic line. I think I'm going to make that shirt. Russia gets a say too, Iran gets a say. Taiwan gets a say. Japan gets a say. Germany gets a say. The worst country on earth, doesn't matter who you are, even if we're at war with them, Afghanistan, they get a say in this. And that's the thing, is that everyone's just like, it's the United States is pure and good and they're perfect. Well, that's not true. And every country gets their own say in this whole thing. So when we sit here and go, well, the Jews are unequivocally right, well, that's not true. And the Iranians are unequivocally wrong, well, that's not true. And the English are just, intermediaries and they're just sitting on the sidelines without any influence, well, that's not fucking true. So we've got to stop pretending that this is right and wrong and simply just ask the why. Why is Iran without a president today? Simple. They're not. They already have the VP pick inside for 50 days, and now there will be a grab for power. Who would benefit from the president of dying? Certainly not Israel. The United States doesn't benefit from that. Nobody benefits from him dying except the people of Iran. The people of Iran absolutely benefit from his death, and they have an opportunity to rise up and replace the government with something that works. The question is, will they? And we don't know the answer to that. Okay? All right. So I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page, right? Because I don't have all the answers. It very well could be that this was an assassination attempt. I highly doubt it. Joe Biden, folks, oh boy. By the way, if you have not had a chance, if everybody's taken care of in the family, we've got 2 birthdays coming up, one for Hayden, one for Ethan. We had Mother's Day. So my job is to take care of the family first. And yes, we've got rent, we've got bills to pay and all that, but family comes first. So if you've taken care of your wife, taken care of your husband, grandparents, uncle, aunt, kids, all that type of stuff, the bills are paid, you've given some to your local veteran charity, you can actually donate to the show now right below here at linktapgo.com/thedumshow. Those donations help keep the show afloat. It is our number one income. Facebook has completely removed our ability to make money off of this site anymore. 200,000 some odd people. You see, they're not even allowing us to gain likes and follows. They're going to be shadow banning us. They've taken our ability to earn revenue. This is what they did in 2020. They're going to do the same thing. They don't want the conservative channel speaking. You can help us and keep us on air by giving back. It's that simple. We don't have a bankroll here. We don't have Ben Shapiro with his type of money, just throwing money at hosts and millions of dollars in contract. We don't have the Crowder $10 million a year just to sit in front of you and talk to you 4 days a week. We work all day, all night, weekends, as much as we can, and doing this to provide you the best truth that we can, which is the truth, facts. We don't give you a whole bunch of speculative nonsense, and we are fairly consistent in our correct status here at this show. We do that by you helping us. So if you have a chance, go to linktapgo.com, help this show out by giving us a donation. We would appreciate it. Thank you very much. All right. Joe Biden, let's listen to this.
You have to be 10 times.
While I set up my other camera, give this a listen.
Hey, You missed your high school graduation. You started college just as George Floyd was murdered. And there was a reckoning on race. It's natural to wonder if democracy you hear about actually works for you. What is democracy? If black men are being killed in the street, what is democracy? The trail of broken promises still leave black communities behind. What is democracy? You have to be 10 times better than anyone else to get a fair shot. And most of all, what does it mean, as we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure?
What the shit? I mean, seriously, this is the... Oh, yeah. There's like 10 people who applauded. Nobody was there. Nobody was there. Folks, you never have to explain if you can't donate. It's not an option. By the way, Olivia got a new cup from her peers. It's really cool. I stole it. I don't... What the hell is he thinking, man? I'll tell you what he's thinking. Is holy shit, I don't have the black vote anymore. I don't have enough black people convinced to vote for me. And I've got to get out here and I've got to go ahead and I got to pander. You had black people sitting there and turned their backs on him and showed their backs to Biden. It's crazy. What the hell is... Okay, let me make sure I understand this. This is the message to the future generation of black people. They have just went through K through 12, where they're now being told that white people have held them down and the whole reason to the failure of black society, drugs, crime, the inner city is because of white people. You have diversity, equity, inclusion coming into these campuses that are saying ultimately that it's no longer about your education level, your overall physical or mental aptitude. It's been a morning. It's literally now because of the color of your skin. That if you're black in this country, no matter that you're literally in a college that is in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to graduate from, that you are going out in the world, that when you do, if you do not succeed, it's because you're black and nobody in this country loves you, that you cannot be successful no matter what you do. Holy shit. I just want to say this to all my black brothers and sisters out there. And, you know, I'm with you. Okay. 120%. You guys got screwed over by the crime bill, which was done by this jackass. You got screwed over with college, with predatory lending, this jackass. This guy could have done something. Instead, he gave billions away to people who, a very small segment, a few million people were impacted. This guy could have changed predatory lending with banks and colleges. And instead of distributing it all to the taxpayer like me, you know, the 49% of the people who pay all the taxes in the United States, why didn't you give some of the responsibility to the banks to pay some of this back? Why didn't you go ahead and give it to the U.S. government to pay back? Okay. And give it to the lending institutions and give it to the colleges who profited off these kids. Why didn't you make this a multifaceted situation? Why did you have to go ahead and screw the taxpayer? Why didn't you go to these banks and say, screw you, assholes? You've been collecting interest on these kids for 20 years. You're going to pay a penalty too. And the colleges are going to pay a penalty. And the government's going to help out. We're all going to take a third. And the government, listen, the taxpayer is going to take 33% of the responsibility because, damn it, we care about our future. But the other 66% is the banks and the colleges. What the fuck are we doing bailing out these people? If we're going to do it at all, which we shouldn't, I don't think the government should be involved at all. I think they should put regulation on these banks and get the predatory lending practices completely eliminated like they did with Dodd-Frank. Bernie Mac and Fannie Mae bullshit with the houses and the predatory lending that took place there, and you regulated it. And so we don't have a freaking real estate collapse. Well, do you want a market collapse? Do you want these businesses ultimately to go out of business because kids can't afford to continue to work there? They can't afford to work in these cities that house 60% of the work population in what, the 15 major cities in the US? But they can't afford to live there because it's the most expensive places on the planet to live. And these corporations can't afford to pay these people because half of their salaries go in to pay back a loan that they can't possibly afford now. Now, it's their own fault that they took those loans out. Yes, we understand that. But listen, we could sit here and huff and puff and cross our arms and say it's not our responsibility. But ultimately, it is going to affect our pocketbooks one way or another because you have to continue to have these corporations employ people. Because if you don't, then you're talking about an economic and societal collapse. It's only a matter of time before people realize that these major corporations that house these small town environments that have come in here and taken and closed all these small businesses, these small businesses can't hire 1,000 people. These small businesses can employ, with 5 or 6 people and compete with these large corporations. This is the way of it, whether we like that or not. Yes, 96% of the overall jobs out there are created by small business. We understand that. But that doesn't mean you can remove the multifaceted corporations that house and employ 150,000. Do you understand how many small businesses that takes? That's an incredible amount. So while, yes, small businesses in the Rust Belt and in the Midwest are absolutely essential to small towns, yes, I'm with you. I provide for them every chance I get, and I don't go anywhere else. That doesn't solve the problem in these cities that are essentially housing these corporations, and these large urban environments are supplying them with the labor force that they need to continue to survive. If you ultimately outpace the cost of living versus the earnings, you're not going to be able to have anybody work there. And these businesses ultimately will suffer. Look what's happening to Starbucks. Yes, it's woke as shit. Yes, I hate the company. Yes, I don't go there anymore because I'm not paying $7 for a cup of coffee. But this is what you get when you have to pay your people $20 an hour, is you get a $7 for a frickin' venti. This is my point. So when he sits here and says that it's black people and it's the white people who are subverting black people, no, you racist dick. This is why black people are leaving the Democrat Party in droves. This is why people are saying enough. We've had 75 years of failed Democratic policies. The inner cities, black youth, they're being killed, they're being murdered. This is why. And it has nothing to do with it. So when he stands up there and says, hey guys, the U.S. government hates you because you're black, you are the U.S. government. You are the leader of the free world, asshole. You are the president of the United States. If not you, then who? I'm going to use the Travis Mannion Foundation. If not you, then who? If not now, then when? You are the leader of the free world, and you are a white asshole who has eulogized 4 Klan members, have insulted black people that if they vote for Trump, then they ain't black. Have said that black kids are just as bright as white kids, and said some of the most racist shit. So you did not support busing out of the inner cities into black schools. You railed against it. You went after Clarence Thomas. You lynched a black man for Supreme Court in front of the national audience. You are an absolute racist and have been a racist. And you're going to sit here and say, as a white guy standing in front of black people, that, hey, the U.S. government and the country hates you, and we're going to change that next election? Why isn't that your number one most important thing that you did change over the last 4 years? Listen to this applause.
As we've heard before, to be a black man who loves his country, even if it doesn't love him back in equal measure.
Hold on. Listen to those tens of people applauding that shit. So the Democrats are in trouble, folks. They're in deep trouble because that is an all-black college, and they should be applauding. If that was Kennedy, can you imagine? So when people are saying that Biden's like, these polls are wrong. They're not right. Obviously they are, or he wouldn't be going and pandering to black people. Yeah, something to think about. The other night, I played a video of this.
Throughout the COVID fiasco, and how you missed out on so many milestones the rest of us older people have taken for granted. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique.
Alfonso, you are totally right. That's one of the reasons we left Colorado. The housing market is outpacing the wages. Of course it is. My parents bought a house in Pine, Colorado for $99,000. It's now selling for $475,000. They took that $99,000 and they reinvested it directly, free and clear. They paid cash for that house, reinvested what they sold the house for $200 and something, and put it into a house that was $400,000. It's now $1.1 million in Colorado, and that is in Pine Junction, Colorado. The absolute property value has skyrocketed. You can't even live in Denver anymore. California has destroyed that. All the replants came in and then allowing marijuana bought up all the land. People were plowing over homes so they could go ahead and plant marijuana crops. You had distilleries popping up all over the U.S. or all over Colorado. The housing market is completely shot. They can't grow fast enough. Man, when I went to Denver last time and NBC Comcast for conference, it took me from DIA to get to Denver Tech Center 3 hours. 3 hours. That's like a 45-minute drive normally. 3 hours with the traffic. Unbelievable. So this speech from Butler, he's a kicker from the Chiefs. This is it.
Poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder. Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people, it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. He is not alone. From the man behind the COVID lockdowns to the people pushing dangerous gender ideologies onto the youth of America, they all have a glaring thing in common. All
right, we've all had a chance to see this. And I had a chance to show this on Friday night. If you haven't watched the Friday night show, please do. A couple donations came in. Want to hit this quickly. It is important to me. Dawn, $15. Thank you so much. And then we also got Violet for $10.80. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. I will try to get those put into the tracker that we use for that as soon as I can. Sorry, it's kind of hard without having a co-host over here to help my ass do this. But you get a situation where you've got a kicker, and the only comparison contrast to this, when you look at Colin Kaepernick and this guy, the only thing that's similar, they weren't the same team. They're not the same color. They're not the same position. They didn't have the same livelihood. Their contracts aren't even remotely close. The situations were not even remotely close. There is no lines of delineation and sinew from Colin Kaepernick and Butker other than the left wanting to go ahead and tie sinew to this, because it helps them, like with BLM and J6, forgive the actions and completely absolve Colin Kaepernick and his ridiculousness, because this guy is in the NFL, so therefore they're synonymous. That's it. There's nothing even remotely close to these at all, in any way, shape, or form. Thank you, Violet. But they're going to go ahead and do this. Why? Well, because it's convenient. It's convenient for them to go ahead and tie these two together, because then they can go ahead and say, see, you were wrong about Colin Kaepernick. Everything you said about, thank you, Don. Everything. If you have not had a chance, folks, linktapgo.com/thedumshow. We are 100% funded by you, the viewer. If you have the opportunity, please go there. You can tip directly. It'll pop up in the window, or you can go ahead and do it to PayPal. If you want your name up in lights, or you want to say something you want me to go ahead and convey, just type it in the notes. I would appreciate it. Everything you do can help, and thank you. If you have not had a chance, go to thedumshow.com. You can pick up hats, cool shirts, stuff like that, coffee. All of it's available at thedumshow.com. Best stuff that you can get. All right. So why would they do this? Well, let's compare. All right? Let's compare. You got Colin Kaepernick, who sat down. The biggest lie ever told, besides Joe Biden, is that Colin Kaepernick took a knee. That is a complete lie. That is a fallacy. The first game that he did, he sat his ass down. He sat his pumpity freaking white Hodgkin's ass in that chair, raised by white parents with a silver spoon in his mouth, received the best education from Stanford, $100,000 scholarships. Parents took care of him, who he turned on, and because he condemns them for their whiteness, for the influence that they had. You know, I really appreciate what they did, but they diluted my blackness. Okay, they diluted your blackness. Colin Kaepernick, who was a second-rate quarterback, who had a few good games for San Francisco, who wasn't good enough to lead a team to a Super Bowl, who wasn't good enough to lead them through a deep run into the playoffs, who was mediocre at best, sat on his ass during the national anthem. Didn't tell anybody why. Didn't explain it in a press conference. Didn't release a statement from his publicist. Just sat down and said, screw you to the national anthem. So I want you to imagine somebody coming up and walking into Arlington and pissing on somebody's grave and then walking away and saying, what? What did I do? What did I do wrong? What did I do that was wrong? I didn't do anything that was wrong. I just peed on somebody's grave and didn't tell them why. You sat down during the national anthem, which is a absolute 100% staple of the national anthem, is to stand up and show respect. You don't have to put your hand over your heart. You don't have to swear allegiance. Just sit there quietly and show respect like we do for every national anthem. And you've had an example of this in sporting events. You've had an example of this at school. You have a Cub Scouts. You're swearing in the military, the fucking Olympics. You know the rule. Don't tell me this. You grew up in the same country that I did, Colin Kaepernick. You knew. And you knew sitting down would be the largest affront that you could make and would piss off as many people as possible. You knew exactly what you were doing. So you sat on your fucking pimpled fat ass and you sat there and disrespected the national anthem. That's what you did. That's the first thing you did. You weren't Tebow who went out and took a knee and prayed to God and led prayer. You didn't do that. Before the game even started, before anyone saw him during practice, that he says a little prayer, something he's been doing since he was a freaking Pop Warner football participant. You didn't do it completely outside of work. No, you did it. And you made sure that everyone knew, because your career was over. You were riding the bench and you were a complete shit player. And you did what you could to get attention. So what happened at the press conference afterwards? You explained what it was. I was sitting in protest. For what? For unarmed black shootings. What? Something that happens 17 times a year on average in the United States over the last 20 years, you're protesting. You're using your entire platform to essentially, like I said, have something that happens more consistently, which are people are killed by flying hammers in the back of a vehicle who come to a sudden stop, then are shot by police. More white people, 286 unarmed a year, are killed on national average over the last 20 years. But you don't see people going in and standing in protest that white people are being shot unarmed. So this is what he decides to do. But he doesn't tell anybody. He doesn't set it up. He just goes ahead and takes the knee, refuses, or sits on his ass and refuses. And then, supposedly, over the next week, he talks to a veteran buddy. And the veteran says, yeah, sitting's not respectful. You should take a knee. But the damage has already been done. So instead, what does he do? He decides to take a knee and bring some buddies to him, and has some buddies take a knee with him. And then he sits there and goes, what? What are you talking about? I'm taking a knee. This is the most respectful way for me to demonstrate that I don't want to participate in the national anthem. But that's not what you did. You sat on your ass and you disrespected and you didn't explain it. So what he does is it tries to put the proverbial shit back in the horse, then goes ahead and signs millions of dollars of Nike's contracts, $100 million advertising contract with Nike, opposes the American flag on shoes, the 13-star flag, and says that it's racist, refuses the thin blue line on there saying that it's police oppression, but he gets to go ahead and put and support DEI and social frickin' justice statements like I can't breathe in the middle of the end zone and on players' jerseys. But there can be no support for anything other, like the military, like thin blue line, like 9/11 victims, the 13-star, nothing, because it's all racist. And Colin Kaepernick, this talentless fucking hack, does this while employed, creates more drama for the San Francisco 49ers, gets released, and then says it's racism because they want him to sign up to combine events and come out and try out. They give him that ability and say, just come out and try out with our team. And what does he do? He brings his own camera crew and says he wants to do his own tryout, and then plays victim and says they don't want me. It's not that you're black. It's not that your hair literally looks like buckwheat. It's that you're a talentless fucking no-name dipshit that nobody cares about, and there's too much drama because you make it about you and not the team. You're a fucking modern-day Karen, and nobody wants you on their team. It has nothing to do with your skin color. You're the guy that goes, hey, I want to see your manager. Nobody wants you. It has nothing to do with your skin color. It doesn't matter how black you are, because I don't know if you've noticed, but the rest of the league doesn't have a skin color issue. It doesn't have a certain body type issue. It doesn't have a hair regulation. They care because you are a self-serving, self-aggrandizing douche plow. That's why Colin Kaepernick can't get a job, and you don't have the talent to play in the NFL. You're a has-been. You were a never were. So now let's get to Butler. You decide on your time off out of the football season with no representation, with no football gear, with a beard cut, hairstyle, nice looking dress. You stand up there and you write a speech that they knew what they were going to get. They knew that you were pro-Trump. They knew that you're anti-Biden. They knew you're a Catholic, pro-life person. They know your political views. They pay you a fee to come up and talk in front of these students. You knew what you were going to get. He talks about pro-life. He talks about pro-values. He talks about pro-speech. He talks about pro-saving the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of every single American who is born or unborn. He talks about family values, conservative principles, everything that you can expect. He admonishes the DEI practices. He admonishes the 1619 practice, but doesn't say anything about those, doesn't make it political. But he talks about the family unit, which is what BLM hates, which is what the overall 1619 project tries to absolve, that white people are bad, that black people made this country, and white people had no effect on it that wasn't detrimental. And he simply says things that are opposite of it without saying them, without calling them out. The whole speech is simply about pro-family, pro-God, pro-life, which goes against all of those things inherently. So Colin Kaepernick is specifically calling out a cause that does not exist and using offensive ways to garner attention. This guy is simply saying what is truthful and espousing his ideology from a non-political standpoint, but from a theological standpoint, which is his God-given right under the First Amendment to do either, but doesn't do one, which is divisive, doesn't necessarily call individuals out, but calls out an overall thought process from Joe Biden and how antithetical it is to God, to pro-life, and how Joe Biden is pandering the religion of Catholicism to go ahead and get votes versus stand up for the lives that are the most important. Marriage is important, that population is important, that having children is important, that the family unit and conservative values are important. On his own dime, on his own time, without representing the NFL or the Kansas City football team. And now the left are saying that this is exactly like Colin Kaepernick. Take your medicine. And the other side of the left are saying, cancel this guy. We have 250,000 signatures. Remove him from him. Cancel his contract because he has an opinion that he did not make on the clock during a football game, and create a national movement that was one of the biggest fucking fallacies ever, that black people were being killed by cops at an alarming rate, which is not true, unarmed in any way, shape, or form. When literally 86 to 130 people are being shot every weekend in fucking Chicago alone, and it's all black people killing black people. That's not what we're opposing. We're opposing 17 unarmed shootings a year on average over the last 20 years that police officers do. And not all of those were unarmed because they either resisted, they either fought, were going for a weapon, or had something that wasn't a firearm like a pipe or a knife or other weapon inside the car. So you can sit here and pretend that these both things are Sesame Street, but I will tell you that one of these things don't belong here. And this guy has absolutely no reason to apologize, no reason to stand down. I would allow them to do whatever they want, and then I would sue every media outlet that lied. I would sue the college. I would sue the NFL if they screw with my contract. And I would go after anyone who profited off of this, because all this guy did was use his free speech in a way he should have, which was off the clock. And if he gets fired for this, this guy should never have to play. He should get what Colin Kaepernick thinks he deserves, which is the hundreds of $millions in lawsuits against this shit because he's white and because he's a Christian. And that's what's happening. It has nothing to do with anything else. He's white and he's a Christian, so he's being singled out, period. End of story. That's it. And we can sit here and pretend that it's all about everything. It's not. He's white. He's asked the why. White Christian. That's it. And he goes against the narrative. This guy might be a kicker, but he deserves Peyton Manning money. And if they go ahead and remove him from the Chiefs, if they cancel his contract, this guy should sue everybody.
Catholic.
Period.
This is an important reminder that being Catholic.
Nothing wrong with this guy. This guy should be on a shirt. He should be on a shirt across the country. End of story. And if anyone thinks he shouldn't, I still haven't heard a reason why. Last thing. Oh, this is unbelievable. I thought I saved it. I'll pull it up, though. It's not going to be hard to find. Michael Cohen embezzling money. Didn't I tell you guys this? No, I don't need to put that he's a male. See, I don't need to do it because it has nothing to do with it. Because Colin Kaepernick is a man. Butker's a man. There's nothing else he could be. See, when people want me to stand up and say he's a male, now, beta male, he's not an alpha to me. Travis Kelce is more of an alpha than he is, even though, in my opinion, they're both metrosexual. That guy's got a trim beard, beautiful hair, tie. He's not a man's man. But when people are like, well, he's a male, he's a man. No, there's no other option. He can't be a woman because he's not. He's a guy. That's when people are like, be specific. Say he's a guy. No, he is a guy. And the people who are claiming that they're women who are guys, they're guys too. I don't need to make that distinction because there's no other option. He's a guy. That's it. Now, you want to talk about his persona? Is he alpha? Is he beta? Is he hetero? No. Maybe I didn't mistake your comment. How did I mistake your comment? And male. You forgot the male part. I don't think that has anything to do with it. Because I'll be honest with you, if a white sports person came out and did the same thing, they would be crucified. Who is a woman would be crucified as well. Look at Riley Gaines. Same thing. That's it. I don't believe it has anything to do with him being a man. Now, I agree that white Christian males are absolutely some of the most hated people on the planet. Yes. But is that what this is about? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. But the only thing I could say, I understand what you're saying. White Christian males. Yeah. I get it. But I don't believe. Look at Tomi Lahren. She's hated by the left, and she says the same thing. Christianity, family values, it has nothing to do with her being a guy. The left have stopped that distinction. They hate anyone who is white, and there's a war on Christianity. That is what it's come down to. It's not even about men and women anymore for them because they can't define it as men and women, because if they do, then they're cutting their own throats by saying that it's binary. They won't say it's men and women anymore. Because they won't say because he's a man. They say, well, what's a man? Are you assuming his gender? The left have caught on to that. They're no longer after the binary man and woman. They feel they've won that argument. They're now on to go after white and Christians. That's what their goal is. They've simplified the Saul Alinsky playbook because they believe they've won the man-woman comment. People defend that. Look at Apple. They defend that men can have babies. They actually look at a person who is obviously a man with an Adam's apple, with a voice like Chris Christopherson, and said, well, it's she. No, it's not. And they can't break it down to male and female anymore. They've taken away that ability. So they have to keep with the narrative that Butker is they. They won't assume his gender. Christian, white. That is what they're going after now. Christian, white, conservative. And I want you to look at all of the people they've tried to cancel and all the people they've tried to go after for the last year. It's all Christian, conservative, white people. It's truth. Tell me I'm wrong. And Angel, it's not just you. Anybody, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me that they've defined it by man and female. They don't do it anymore. All the commercials make men look stupid. Everything's about get a blue pill. Get eugenics, or not eugenics, but whatever that's called. Your dick doesn't work, you're a white man. You can't be a man. Get testosterone. Get the little blue pill. Get Australian Dream because you can't get up out of the chair. Go ahead and take Prevagen because your mind doesn't work because you're a stupid man. Look at the sitcoms. Look at the comedy shows. Look at the movies now. The guy's always stupid. Oh, yeah, dear. Oh, honey, would you go get me a beer? You go get yourself, Bob. I'm a liberated woman. I worked all day too. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, honey, I was wondering, would you mind cooking that apple pie that you cooked? No. Why can't you cook the apple pie? Oh, you're right, honey. I'm sorry. Hey, where's little Johnny? Where's he at? He's over at his friend's house. Well, did he do his homework? Bob, he doesn't have to do that oppressive white-splaining anymore. He's already read his appropriate culture. He watched 5 minutes of Roots. He knows all that he needs to know. You're right, sweetheart. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Hey, what are we doing for Easter? Easter? We're not going to do that pagan religious holiday where the satanic bunny goes in and paints eggs for that man on that cross and he moved a giant rock and was reborn and died for our sins. Oh, pfft. We're not doing that fairy tale. Oh, I'm sorry, honey. You're right. I'm just a stupid man. What do I know? Fuck you, Bob. Thanks, honey. Hey, honey, can you go ahead and use that strap-on on me tonight? Because I'm an emasculated male and I want to know what it's like to be oppressed like you and feel like a woman and get fucked. There's no more of it anymore. And I'm sorry for being graphic, but it's the truth. Men are emasculated. Men have been castrated. They've been castrated by the food they eat that specifically lowers their testosterone. They've been given preservatives. Estrogen is shoved down their throat. They're told eat almonds and eat yogurt and eat low-fat cheese and don't eat meat. Don't eat anything possibly with iron in it. Don't eat anything possible with any hormones in it. Don't eat anything that can actually get your blood going and get you to actually, get your heart moving so you get off the couch and stop being a cuck for your entire family. No, how about we emasculate men and we lower their testosterone count to 186 so they don't create waves. They don't want to procreate. They don't want to repopulate. And let's kill their toxic masculinity. You know what? Fuck that. I'm sick of it. This is the world we're in now. This is what you've got. You want beta males, men who just get along, who quiet up and won't stand their ground. Well, you know what? I believe that women should be equal to men in the ways that are human. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But you're not equal to me. There are things that I am far superior than you are as a woman, and I don't care to say anything other because I'm sorry. It's true. Let's get in a boxing match. Now, you want to give me Ronda Rousey? Fine. You give me Ronda Rousey. I'll fight Ronda Rousey. Yep. And she will more than likely kick my ass. But if I hit her one time, I will fucking put her down for the rest of her life. I hit her once. It's over. She will never walk again. One hit. That's all I need. Bare knuckles, one hit. That's all I need. I connect with her one time. She will eat through a straw for the rest of her life. Now, do I want to do that to Ronda Rousey? No. Will she probably kick my ass in every other instance? Yes. But I drop one elbow. I get one knee on her. She's done. I hit any other man like that, and I'm going to get verbally and physically raped. I know this for sure. Kari and I got into it one time. He's an MMA. He would fucking rip me apart. Now, it depends. He likes to think, listen, I fought people twice your size and twice your weight with twice your talent, half as young as you. Hurt my wife. Hurt my wife and hurt my kids. I don't care how much MMA you know. I will destroy you. I don't care. I don't care how much jiu-jitsu, how much Brazilian blah, 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 Kempo karate, how much fucking grappling, you're not coming out of there alive. See, the difference between these young kids who think, hey man, I fight in a ring and I'm MMA. I don't care. If I have a reason, you have no... See, this is the problem with these guys. Most of these guys haven't served in the military. We saw it in Afghanistan. You saw it in countries that we were involved in, is that you don't understand when a man is defending his home and the ones he loves, one man can fight against 10. Grandmothers wielding brooms could stop battalions of fucking people from taking over caves and areas and villages because of the will to fight for what they love. I have no problem with, dude, Kari wants to fight me one-on-one. He's going to eat, he's going to feed me my lunch. I'm probably going to lose my teeth. No doubt. That's why I don't fight people like that. I fight those people 700 yards away. If you're worth fighting, I'll fight you 700 yards away. And you ain't going to win that fight. But if you're going to hurt my kids and you're going to hurt my wife, I promise you this, you're going to have to kill me. So when people are saying that men are emasculated and the military sucks and that's not true. There is something hidden inside of us. And it will awaken. And like every member of the animal kingdom, when pushed with fight or flight, men will fight. And the cowards will be eaten by the men who fight. Don't push men. Just like I would say, don't push women. This is my point. One man defending his family and defending his home. I don't care how much you know. Because you're going to try to hit me and knock me out. I'm going to grab your fucking eyeball and rip it out of your head. I'm going to bite your fucking nuts off if your crotch is within distance. I'm going to rip your fingers off and I'm going to fucking beat you with them if you're going after my family. Your motive is to knock me out. Your motive is to knock me down. My motive is to physically disable you so you can no longer fight and get you in a position where you're vulnerable and then end your life. There is a very big difference. And I think if any MMA guy was here and told you that, no matter how skilled he is, no matter how amazing he is, you're going to try to lock me up. You're going to try to pop my arm out of my socket. You're going to try to choke me out. I'm going to try to rip your fucking eyeball out. I'm going to scratch you, claw you, bite you, hit you with a stick, pick you up and slam your head into the concrete. Whatever I can do, it's a completely different fight. And that's why when you'll see a picture of like Mike Tyson and you'll see a guy like Butterbean and they put them side by side and they say, in a ring, Mike Tyson would just absolutely destroy Butterbean. But in a fight to the death, that is a completely different fight. It is a completely different fight. So that's what I'm trying to explain to people, is that the spirit inside of a person who wants to fight for their home, who wants to fight for the ones that they love. And this is what the left doesn't understand. They don't understand that there is something dormant, there is something primal that they will tap into if they're not careful. And it's people who will defend their home. And that's why when everyone's like, why do you carry a gun? Or why do you believe teachers should be armed? Because I believe in defending to the nth degree the people that I love and the people that I care for. And I think that we should do the same for each other. I believe that we should have as much love for our neighbor as we do our family. And here's the thing. My son, okay? I'm going to tell you a quick story. My son is going, and we're going to end with this. because I think this is a good place to end. My son, first of all, our neighbors. I'm just going to say Pete. P and T. Those are their initials. They have been a second family to my son. When this family was arguing and yelling, and my wife and I are going through our problems, and the kids were constantly just doing horribly stupid things that were just detrimental to their whole makeup, and I was just so angry because of COVID and losing jobs and everything else, that my family had to take the brunt of my verbal anger, my yelling. And when he needed to get away, just get away from a dad that he was not happy with, that family was there for them. And although there wasn't physical abuse, and although I wasn't bouncing them off the wall, and although I wasn't degrading them, I would yell, and everyone knows this who watched the show, and I was frustrated. Probably the worst 2 years of as being a dad. And the kids will tell you too, we hated it. We were upset with COVID. My wife was upset. Everybody was their worst version of themselves. It wasn't just dad, everybody was. This family went through a terrible time for about a year and a half. And P and T were always there. And P and T would always hear it too, occasionally, whenever the yelling would happen. Because we live in a valley, and sometimes the window's open. And I didn't know, and I didn't care. And at that point, it was so bad that people would hear it. And they would hear me just completely pissed off. And it doesn't matter what the why is. It doesn't matter what happened. The point is that was a sanctuary. And P and T never judged. Other neighbors did. Other neighbors got judgy. And they don't care about PTS. They don't care about stress. They don't care about money. They can't possibly understand how you are so much not like them. And I'll tell you, P and T, they're nothing like us. T is like me, and P, who's the dad, is like Olivia. P is a soft-spoken guy. He is loving. He is kind. He's a recovering alcoholic. He is just one of the best dads. He's always there for his son. He's always there to pick him up. He just takes care of his boy, and he's a great son or a great father, and he takes care of my son too whenever they're there. Yes, there'll be a show tonight. And it's just an unsurmountable amount of love coming from that family, okay? And I look up to Pete in a lot of ways because of how he treats his family and his son. But we're nothing alike. He is absolutely not alpha. He's not alpha in any way, shape, or form. Although I know Pete could bring the shit if he needs to, but he's not that way. He's just not that way. He's a guy that wears tan shorts and a polo with sandals. And he puts the little thing on the back of his sunglasses so they don't fall off when he gets in the water. And he puts on white suntan lotion on his nose. He's one of those guys. But I'll tell you what, I would die for him. If anyone tried to hurt him or his family, it would be me or them. And I don't care if the odds are 20 against 1. I'm going to go to that fight, and I'm going to fight for him. So when he asked my son, hey, now you have to understand, you guys remember what I went through. You remember what I went through as a boy and the violations that took place to me. And I said I would never have it happen to my son. I would never allow my son to go do something and put him in a position where I was away from him. He's going to be 3.5 hours away from me. 3.5 hours. Can't fly, have to drive. 3.5 hours. Might as well be in California. And he's going to be that far away from me. And if something happens, I have to, and they're going to the Eastern Shore. There's riptides, there's currents, everything. Ethan is a good swimmer. He's not a fantastic swimmer. And I'm a little nervous. By the way, I want to thank the 30 plus on Twitter. Thank you for being on. It's good to have you all. It's really cool to see so many people on Twitter. And he's going to go there. And I have to ask myself the question, if something happens, can Pete protect my son? Will Pete protect my son the way that I would protect my son? Now, there's a guy named Virgil, my next door neighbor, sent his daughter all the way from Texas here. And it was in the height of the arguing and stuff. But he knew that nobody would ever hurt his little girl. That I would put my life on the line. That if there's a shooter, I would grab Olivia, Hayden, Ethan, and her and fight with as much vigor to save her as I would my own family. He knew that about me. That's why he's like, okay, you want to go? Go see Matt and Olivia. You're 9 years old. Go. So I had to ask myself the question, would Pete be able to get in the ocean and swim and save my son? And the answer is probably no. Would he be able to? Probably not. I don't believe he would have the physical aptitude to swim in a rip and get my son out. But I know what? He's not going to be without being inside of a lifeguard. I know he's not going to have some sort of flotation device with my son. I know he's going to watch him constantly. I know he's going to look to make sure all threats are completely inadvertent and away from my child. I know that for sure. Otherwise, my son wouldn't be going. He wouldn't be going. I would not allow him to go. And I had told him, I said, son, I'm letting you go, but here's the thing. You're going to have to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the things you're going to have to do. I don't want to hear otherwise. Pete's in charge. T's in charge. You do what they say. If you don't do what they say, there's going to be hell to pay. And that is called trust. And that is what you're trying to destroy on the left. You're trying to make me doubt my neighbor. You're trying to make me feel that I need to have something to fear from a black person across the street. You're trying to show me that I have to fear a liberal, that I have to fear a person who's atheist or agnostic, who has dogmatic principles that are completely outside mine, that I need to be afraid of a Muslim or a Zionist Jew. And I will tell you, I'm not afraid of those people. I'm not afraid of anybody, gay, lesbian, straight, transgender, queer, two-spirit, Native American, Muslim, Jew, Gentile, Zionist, Ukrainian. Got a Ukrainian lives right next door. You're telling me I have to be afraid of those people, and I'm not afraid of those people. You know who I'm afraid of? I'm afraid of fucking leftist liberals. You fucking people scare the hell out of me. You scare the hell out of me because you tell me I have to hate my neighbor, that I have to hate my whiteness, that I have to hate my wife, I have to hate my children, that I've got to hate anyone who's different than you. You're the people I fear because you're the people who are going to come and try to take what I have, and it ain't going to happen. And I will fight you with as much vigor. People say all the time, oh yeah, you got your M1 over here from your dad. You got your M1. Well, what if the government comes and takes it 3 seconds after they knock on that door? You're going to be a good little bitch and run and get that weapon and hand it right to them. The fuck I will. Find out. Come and try to take it. Because there is something more important than compliance. There's something more important than servitude. There's something more important than emasculation. There is that bond and that love that I talked about that you will never encroach upon. And there are lines in the sand that you will never cross. That's one of them. It's one of them. You are not going to take something that was my father's. There's a painting downstairs and there is an M1 downstairs. The painting is from my mother during a simpler time where she was actually kind. And the firearm is the one good thing that I can remember about my father when I got home from boot camp, that we took it outside and we put a few rounds in the tree. And that was really the only time I can remember that was actually something I enjoyed with my father. The fuck you're going to take that? You can try. But that's the line in the sand. You want to come and knock on the door and talk about my AR? You want to talk about the Winchester? You want to talk about the Mossberg? You want to talk about the fucking 30, 40 other guns that I have and all the firearms? Okay, we can have that conversation. You ain't touching that M1. And you aren't touching that painting. You're not touching that flag in the triangle fold either. There's things that you are not going to touch. And if you want to ban them and you want to get rid of them, that's fine. You don't have to. I won't bring them outside. They are in my home. They're in my property. That's fine. But the moment that you come and you say that you're going to intrude on the sanctity of my life, it's like you taking my kid. It's like you going after my wife. It's not going to happen. I don't care how much you know. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care how many guys you bring locked and loaded who are all Kevlar'd out and 6'4", because I'm 6'4" and I can play the same fucking game. And yes, I will openly admit that I'm going to lose that fight, but I'm still going to fight that fight. There is a line that is going to be crossed soon, and we are going to have to make a decision. Do we want to be free or do you want to be slaves? And I don't bring this conversation up and I don't talk about these things, but there is a line that's going to be crossed. And soon it's going to be something you're going to have to make a choice over. Are you going to allow the people who want to murder Jews and who are Zionists, who hate Zionists, are you going to allow them to do that again, or are you going to stand up? When they try to mark you and they try to chip you, are you going to stand up? If they try to put you in chains or try to take away the smart ones and start collecting the scientists and the doctors and the people who resist, the people who are constitutionalists, the people with their own shows, and start turning them off and start putting them in camps, what are you going to do? Because if you think we're so far removed on that, all I'd have to ask you is ask the Japanese, ask the Native Americans, and right now ask the blacks. If you think that this country hasn't done those things before, you're not paying attention. Because right now, they have shackled the African-American population to live in a certain area where they can be controlled, they can be quartered, and they can be harvested for votes. And if you don't think that's happening, then just go look up the 37 of the top 50 most violent cities in America, and they have one thing in common. They're cities, and they're full of black people. Those are synonymous. This isn't a conversation to revolt. It's not a conversation to rise up. It's a conversation that there will come a time where you got to punch the clock and defend what's yours and defend your beliefs. And anyone who's trying to take it is a threat. If you think that time's not coming, just look at what's happening. Look at what's happening in Canada. Look at what's happening in South America. Look what's happening in Europe. There is an existential threat to our way of life. And they're saying that you can't live it anymore, that you've got to change. Conform or die. No. It's not going to happen. It shouldn't happen. And there will be plenty of people who do. There will be plenty of people who give up and do whatever they want. Those aren't the people who are your blood. Those aren't the people who are your neighbors. You're not going to sit here and tell me that I have to be afraid of somebody because of what sex they are. That I have to be afraid of somebody because of what religion they are. I have to be afraid of somebody what color they are. I have to be afraid of somebody because they vote for Joe Biden. I'm not afraid of those people. I'm afraid of those people who say I have to do what they do. Who want to take my individual rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nobody has a right to take those. Unless you let them. Folks, that's it for the Don't Unfriend Me Show. If you have not had a chance to watch a show, it's an impromptu show, good hour and a half. I'll make sure I have this cut and we will have it all over the internet. If you have not had a chance, please go to linktapgo.com/thedumshow. We are funded by you, the viewers. That's it. We make a certain amount from the shows, and that is from your donations. We appreciate it. If you can help out, we would love if you would do that. Please do me a favor and visit thedumshow.com, or you can go to linktapgo.com/thedumshow and do the same. We'll see you tonight at 7 o'clock. Olivia will be off. Ethan has a baseball game. I might replay this tonight. I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably be on. But either way, have a great one. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tonight. God bless. See ya.
Adjusting transmitter output.
This is the Don't Unfriend Me Show with your hosts, Matt, Leroy, Amy, Olivia, and Mike. Geopolitics, military analysis, and election coverage. Coming to you live on the Spreely.tv network and all major social media channels at The DUM Show. Honest, direct, unfiltered. We can agree, we can disagree. Just don't unfriend me.